Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome back to another best of 5 series of professional StarCraft 2. Now what I got for you today is another one of those much recommended series from WCS Montreal. A lot of you reached out on Twitter and mentioned that I should really go ahead and cast this series if I haven't seen it myself just yet. And I'm actually really curious about this one because I'm very familiar with one of the players. I mean, she's a channel favorite, but the other one, I don't really know too much about him. So let's figure this out together. Already the Protoss player seems to be sending out a probe to the other side of the map. So quickly, let's get the introductions out of the way. Spawning here in the bottom left-hand corner of Cerulean Fall LE in game number 1 of this series and playing with the red Zerg drones, we have none other than Scarlett. Anything weird happening? Nah, looks like we're good. And her opponent spawning in the top right-hand corner. He's playing with the blue Protoss probes. He's from France, and he goes by the nickname of Shadown. So Shadown, I definitely have not covered him in a YouTube video before. I'm not too familiar with this man. I've just heard that he's very good, and he plays a Haas-like playstyle. And I know that a lot of you are massive fans of Haas. Looks like we do see that forge coming up right now for Shadown, and actually... Okay, Scarlett goes for the proxy hatchery on the other side of the map in game number 1 of this series. And Shadown, he's scouting around, he's trying to figure out what's happening. He notices that there's a hatchery on the low ground, but still no gas, and only just now a spawning pool. Maybe his spidey senses will start tingling. It looks like he doesn't really care too much about it, because the pylon does go up near the opposing hatchery anyway. But this is all a trick. Scarlett is definitely not planning on really mining very much. She's likely planning on just ending this game super early on. I'm curious to see how this one is going to play out. Scarlett is going to figure out what's going on here near the back of the hatchery anyway. She's going to send a single drone there. This mostly just seems to be a distraction. Double gas will be taken here by the Zerg player as well. Shadown still does not scout the spawning pool. Hatchery there will get cancelled on the other side of the map. That does mean that one of the pylons and I think one of the photon cannons also ends up going down. A robotics facility is coming up instead. Spawning pool will just be about to finish, but so is the hatchery on the other side of the map. It looks like game number 1 is off to a flying start. I love this already. Instant roach roaring there for Scarlett. This will be spotted here by Shadown, who probably thinks that this is meant to defend the main hatchery here instead, but I think this is an offensive threat. Right now, there we go. A little bit of creep is starting to get into the vision right here of that Protoss main base. Now the Overlord is already maneuvering around. Right now Shadown definitely knows what's going on. That does mean, right, that Ravagers and Zerglings are likely just about to join the battlefield here as well. And I think that Shadown is actually going to be in a little bit of trouble. This is going to be awkward. I feel like as long as Scarlett manages to hold the ramp here, she's going to eventually be able to destroy the opposing main base. Because this is a really scary push. Ravagers basically just kill everything with corrosive bile from a bit of a distance, right? So as long as Scarlett manages to hold the ramp, I think she's going to be in a good spot. Shadown though still going to commit to it. He will go for the chrono boost right there on that robotics facility, getting the very first of the immortals out. Now roaches are just about to spawn on the other side of the map. Queen in a little bit of trouble, but the roaches are going to be able to target fire down that Stalker. Queen helping out as well, and actually the Stalker falls. 3 Ravagers immediately get morphed in. Additional photon cannons as well as a shield battery are going up near the high ground. But that Overlord, man, that Overlord is absolutely critical. Beautiful corrosive biles hitting all 3 of those structures. At the same time though, the Immortal is now available on the other side of the map. It's gonna start hitting away right there at that Spine Crawler. Looks like additional Spine Crawlers are coming up, but with these shield batteries, right, as well as that Warp Prism, she's going to be able to hold this ramp relatively easily, I think. I don't know if you want to commit there, though. At the same time, on the other side of the map, a lot of the structures have been destroyed. Scarlett is going to be able to get rid of that one pylon here as well. That means that we won't be seeing too much production here anymore for our Protoss player. Still, that Warp Prism is coming up. The Immortal was already queued up as well, so that means that 2 Immortals and a Warp Prism are on their way, and you get so much value out of this. But while this is all going on, right, look at that. The mineral line of Shadown is 100% gonna be killed here. That means that the main has fallen, but so has the Queen on the other side of the map. Still, Scarlett is mining here, right? She's mining. She's got a lot of army. It's just that with the juggling being as good as it's been so far, I do think that Shadown has a chance. This is already so awkward. I love this. For just the first game in the series, Scarlett though, oh, she's taken into account Oh, that is smart. I actually didn't consider that. She's taking into account that she's likely gonna lose the main base. So instead, she's actually using the hatchery on the other side of the map right now to start mining. And I think that this is a drone transfer. Look at that micro on the prism. Already absolutely phenomenal. Now, that does mean that Shadown is gonna be able to chase this one down as well. But the main has now fallen. Scarlett is taking control of the opposing ramp instead. She is thinking on her feet really quickly. That's honestly extremely impressive. Looks like pretty much every single one of the structures here will end up going down as well. I think that's a third immortal joining the fray here in just a bit as well. But this will mostly just come down to the control right here. Shadown did manage to kill a lot of those units. Actually, I think one of the immortals may have just fallen as well, or maybe... No, actually, no, there are 3 immortals now in total. But still, this is a lot of Ravagers. There's 2 queens here available with transfuse as well, purposefully not injecting. Trying to get the value there, hitting that inject. As soon as the prism falls, this game is over. But with good micro, right, Shadown might still be able to pull this one off. Still, there's a lot of micro. No, I don't think it's possible, right? 3 immortals are definitely very strong, but Scarlett is actually mining. Oh my god, he's getting so much value though. These Ravagers do not mess around. Beautiful pickup micro so far. Picking off so many of those weakened Ravagers though. Right? That was great value there for our Protoss player. Shadown is not mining. He's 100% all in. That means he can spend all of his attention microing these units as well. Still, the longer that this goes on, the more units will come out here for Scarlett. And I'm looking at this and I'm not sure how it's going to happen. A couple drones are once again being produced here inside of the old main base of Scarlett. And all she needs to do is just hold the ramp. She knows with her opponent revealed right now, right, that this is going to be a last-ditch effort. Still, 3 immortals, man. They do not mess around. One of the immortals though does end up going down. The other 2 are running very low in HP as well. And once again, right, more and more roaches are spawning. Even if this army goes down, Scarlett is gonna be able to go back to her main base if she wants to. The prism extremely low, it gets picked off, and with that, Shadown's chances in game number 1 disappear. I don't think anyone really anticipated this being a thing. When they first introduced the shield battery, right? It was meant as a defensive tool to essentially replace the mothership core and, you know, help Protoss players actually hold on to expansions and all that. I've got a feeling that no one really anticipated them being used in the way that they are right now. And I have to be honest, even though I'm a Zerg player at heart, right? I absolutely love it. I think it's such a cool playstyle. It allows for such a variety in games. And I think that even though a lot of players for a long time, right, were saying that StarCraft didn't require as much micro as, say, for example, some of the other games out there, like, for example, like Warcraft 3 and stuff. With these kind of strategies, if you're really good at micro, you're gonna be able to just simply get so much value out of your units, right? With the War Prism and the Immortals and then just microing them backwards, there's a bunch of really cool strategies that you can pull off if you are a Protoss player, more so I feel like than with some of the other races. I mean, technically it's possible with like Overlord drops and Medivac drops and all that as well, and some players have been showing some insane micro at that too, but just because of the pickup radius and all that, I think there's quite a lot of potential with just simply Protoss in particular. Anyways, I love it. There's like a whole new playstyle that's all of a sudden viable. Shadown there, going for the GG spray at the back of the mineral line, just as a constant reminder that he's still very much so in this series. Now, of course, in a best of 5, it is the first player to win 3 maps who will be the eventual winner of the series. Looks like we've got a bit of a normal game this time around. So, here's what I know about Shadown. I know he's had a very good showing at WCS Montreal. I know that he's pretty well known to play in some online tournaments as well, but I'll be perfectly honest with you that I don't really know too much about this man. Now, obviously, I do keep up to date with a lot of the games that are being played, and I try to watch as much as I can, but WCS Montreal, for example, I think it's like a 3-day-long tournament with like literally hundreds of games being played over the course of those days. I just simply cannot watch every single match, right? If you would have shown me this series, or like the names of the players playing in this series before actually casting them, right now, I would say that Scarlett is pretty much 100% the favorite player, right? That's just because I know Scarlett very well. I've watched a lot of her games. I'm a massive fan of Scarlett, but Shadown showing us that that was a very close game, number 1. He's very good at the game and he knows what he's doing. So I don't know what to expect from this series. I genuinely do not. I'm excited to figure it out though. Alright, so I would be interested to see something a little bit more macro-focused. That usually kind of helps me judge a player a little bit better. Some players, for example, just cheese every single game and it makes them a bit of a one-trick pony. But for example, what makes Haas so scary is that he's really good at just simply playing the macro game as a follow-up too. Using sprays and killing the little robot thing? I mean, killing critters on the map? You can't just do that, dude. I feel like that's pretty much always a mistake. Anyway, the Adept does make its way into the mineral line right now, or at the very least it's headed in that direction. It's trying to figure out if a second gas was taken there, maybe a roach warren or something along those lines. Looks like none of that is going on, and I really like that little scout there. Shadown now knows that he is good to go and play the game that he would like to. So that means that the first Phoenix is coming up already. Overlord is gonna try and figure out what is going on for this Protoss player. Well, I guess it will indirectly now confirm that it is indeed going to be a Stargate. Double gateway here near the front, so very normal setup. I wonder if this is just going to be an Oracle and then followed up by a robotics facility. To maybe go for a little bit more aggression. Ooh, Scarlett trying to get this around there. I think the Adept will still fall, but that does mean that there will just be a couple more, Zergling kills there for the Adepts. Alrighty, so there we do indeed see the Twilight Council. I'm assuming a robotics facility soon afterwards. Depending on the amount of gateways we will see, Scarlett has to make a decision, right? The thing is, this can be followed up with 4 gateways in total to go for Archon drops, or with 8 gateways in total to go for Archon drops, but also, for example, Zealots with charge. There's a lot of potential here for this Protoss player, and it all comes down to the Zerg player to figure out what exactly is going on. Now, what makes this so tricky is the fact that indeed at this point you don't really have a way of scouting it because of this Phoenix and then also that Oracle being a nuisance. Wonderful work so far, though, by Shadown, just simply picking up a couple of drones here, not really losing anything there. That is absolutely critical for him, which is very nice. Oh, I like this. I was assuming charge. But instead, we're going to be seeing the Twilight Council now research the Glaives upgrade. There's also no follow-up really right now for the Protoss player to go for Archons. So even though Archon drops are the current standard in the meta, it looks like it's just simply going to be a bunch of Adepts. These Adepts actually moving out in a relatively unorthodox timing as well. Normally, you leave those at the 3rd for a little while longer to ensure leaving that 3rd base, you know, at least somewhat protected. But this may actually catch Scarlett off guard. Now, she is already making a lot of Zerglings. I think she should be okay, to be honest. This seems to be just simply a couple of dead Adepts, but obviously with the Shade being activated, Shadown might be able to get on out of there. Yeah, at least some of them will survive there. Phoenix actually running dangerously low as well. But that awkward push there may very well make it so that Scarlett doesn't think there's going to be a follow-up anymore, right? Which I kind of like. Well, it does look like all of the Adepts, though, will find their grave over here. But at the same time, the Warp Prism is coming out, and Shadown has been warping in a lot of additional Adepts here as well. Warp Prism will be available now. There's also, of course, a second robotics facility as well as a robotics bay coming up. So he's really playing his own style. Difficult to read right now for a Zerg player for sure. I really like the way that the Protoss player here from France is playing this one out so far. Well, let's just look at what Scarlett is doing. Scarlett is making all the right calls. She's playing a completely 100% orthodox Protoss versus Zerg right now. This is what you do when you are playing against a Protoss player who doesn't really play something that you are used to, or when they play something that you might not necessarily expect. The thing about this build from Scarlett is that it's kind of good against everything. I'm not sure, though, how it goes against double Colossus production. The laser giraffes are about to join the battlefield, and they can deal a huge amount of damage. The thing is, they're phenomenal against Hydralisk and Zerglings as well. And usually what happens, right, is that once Zerg players reach their Hydra speed upgrade, which is just about halfway done, they go out of Roach Tech completely. So I'm curious to see how this is going to play out, because Hydras deal a lot of damage as well, but the Colossus will just shred them to pieces. Well, we do see a couple of Dropper Lords now coming up. Nemetes Carapace also a research now. So that's 5 Dropper Lords here for the Zerg player. I'm curious to see what they're going to be used for. Once again, though, the Adepts are just simply shading back, and they're basically forcing Scarlett to make a lot of units. I really think that the Colossus, right, they're gonna be a great help here. Look at them. They're completely unscouted. At this point, Scarlett doesn't know about the fact that they might even be available. Couple of Immortals are now coming up as well. This makes for an interesting push, that's for sure. The Warp Prism here on the left-hand side of the screen, it's running dangerously low. Adepts will be dropped off, and they are once again gonna shade around, maybe try to make their way to their natural. At the same time, Oracle will be revealed. Mass Recall was indeed used there on that Prism, so the Prism will stay alive for just a little while longer. And the Adepts, look at them, right? It's just 2 hero Adepts. They pick up 8 worker kills there in total. Very, very nicely done. 17 additional drones. Okay. So the way that Scarlett is reading this right now is that she assumes that Shadown is gonna sit back for the time being. I'm not so sure about that, to be honest. With extended thermal lens just about to finish up, as well as 2 more Colossi coming out, I've got a feeling that even though she may expect Storm, right, that this is gonna be something that she will be caught off guard by. Well, here we go. Big drop there inside of the main base of the Protoss player. 2 Archons, or rather 2 Immortals there, were waiting. At the same time, there's a small Hydra hit squad here moving on the left-hand side. Beautiful bit of target firing right now, though, by Scarlett. She's really just trying to play something that's very, very ordinary. The Colossi, though, are here, and with that wonderful pickup micro, once again, I think that Shadown is going to be able to get rid of most of those units. There's really not a lot of Stalkers available right now, and actually, Scarlett is following this up with Swarm Host. Very interesting game here. I love this. Hydras, once again, moving right here on the left-hand side. Obviously, Colossi are technically great at picking those off, but the thing is, they cannot be at 2 places at once. And with this little anti-air here for the Protoss, right, not only does it leave him very, very vulnerable to, for example, Mutalisk, Archon, or rather Overlord drops are absolutely phenomenal. Once again, they're gonna try and head on back into the main base. Workers are falling everywhere, and now with the Swarm Host joining the battlefield as well, I feel like one of these bases is gonna end up going down here in just a little bit. Once again, right, Adepts are being warped in because there's no blink available anyway. Scarlett is gonna be able to get those Overlords on out of there, but nope, she's once again gonna turn them back around to try and continue fighting another day. At the same time, couple of the sentries and Adepts try to move out on the map. That's definitely not gonna happen. Only a couple of the Swarm Hosts there were activated, and that means that the Swarm Host Locusts are now making their way towards that 3rd base as well. Roaches in the main base are being cleaned up here, it looks like, eventually by a bunch of Stalkers, but at the same time, so many probes are going down. This is ridiculous. This is forcing the all-in right now from the Protoss player. Sure, there's a couple of Colossi, but I do not know if that is really going to be enough. There is so much eco. 45 probes! In just 2 minutes time. I love this. Both players playing on the fly. Roach is now coming up as a follow-up, and they are most definitely the way to go when you are fighting against Colossi. Even the Swarmos are now being used as a meat shield, and Scarlett absolutely smashes Shadown in game number 2. That was honestly a really, really well-played game there by Scarlett. I mean, this kind of shows why there is a so-called standard in StarCraft 2. I mean, Scarlett didn't really scout very much, but with the limited information that she did have, she decided to go straight into the Overlord drops when she realized there wasn't a lot of anti-air and when she realized there was a lot of Colossus play. Going for the double-pronged harass and then follow it up with Swarm Host, that was really clever as well. And the way she activated only a couple of the Swarm Host Locusts and then sent the rest of the Locusts towards the 3rd base, I mean, it was all very, very smooth. She forced the counterattack, countered it very, very easily with just Roaches and Ravagers, and it was enough to force Shadown out of the game. Well, it does mean that we are right now at match point here for our Protoss player in blue. I'm curious what he's got in store for us, because I feel like you don't want to go down 3-0, right? That's just, even if you lose a series, losing 3-0 just kind of sucks. You don't want to lose 3-0. Alright, so the first probe made its way across the map, and I say first because I already saw the second one moving on the other side of the map. It looks like, once again, Shadown is gonna go for something a little bit more aggressive. Now, the reason, by the way, why I did really like the way that Shadown was playing the previous match is because if he was given, like, another minute or two, he would have been able to go for such a potent timing attack that I think that Scarlett would have just crumbled under the pressure. The thing is, Scarlett just didn't give him that time, right? And that's what makes the top-of-the-line Zerg player so strong. She realized that if she gave him more time, she was likely going to end up losing the game, because holding that push is very, very tricky with just Roach, Ravager, Hydra. Well, the second probe is here. Looks like, even though, you know, there's an Overlord right above the natural, I'm a little surprised by that. Shadown is still just simply gonna go ahead and put down the pylon anyway. Scarlett, though, ooh, I like this. Stealing the assimilator is a big deal. Scarlett, though, immediately did decide to send a drone towards the 3rd base here, too. One photon cannon will be going up, second one here as well, and that will force the council there on that hatchery. But stealing the gas is nice. I kind of like that, because it makes it really hard right now for Scarlett to go for both Zergling speed as well as Ravagers. She's likely still going to be forced to do exactly that, though. I think she's still going to go for a Roach Warren. At the very least, it makes sense to try and do something along those lines. What's she building? What do you have in store for us, Scarlett? Ooh, it's just going to be a simple spine crawler. And a second spine here as well. Well, already, with that really quick gateway on the other side, right? And with that cybernetics core coming up really early on as well, Scarlett is going to go into a... Or rather, Shadown here is going to go into a robotics facility. Very curious to see how this one is going to play out. Because while Scarlett will be able to... oh my god, that's 4 spines. Beautiful scout there, actually. Look at that play. Really well done. But with this, right, it does mean that the Immortals will come out really early on as well. Couple of Zerglings sneaking out now. Looks like they may very well be going for a counterattack now, which I think is the correct call to make. They're going to be able to, at the very least, force some defensive units here at home as well. I think Shadown is going to have to put down, like, a photon cannon somewhere over here, or at the very least... Yeah, like a shield battery or a photon cannon. I think both are optional. Looks like he doesn't really care too much about these Zerglings, though. Well, here come the spine crawlers. They have been uprooted. There's a bunch of photon cannons available, as well as a few shield batteries, but a lot of them are still just about to finish up. Looks like Scarlett is going to try and break this, using the Pokeboys to go to town on the opposing static defense as well. The Immortal trying to deal a little bit of damage there to the Zerglings. I kind of feel like it needs to start target firing down some of these spine crawlers as well. Great surround, though, by Scarlett, getting rid of at least some of those shields, but still, those shield batteries are providing so much support. They are out of energy right now, so that does mean that Shadown is in a little bit of trouble. He did create this beautiful choking point there to make it a little bit easier to back up with that Immortal, creating just a little bit of wiggle room. I really like that decision. The Adept now also made its way across the map still. Speedlings here are available, and the spine crawlers are getting rid of a lot of those structures. Queen's desperately trying to provide as much value as they can. Additional shield batteries are coming up right now near the rim of this area of aggression as well. This is hard to call, right? I like the position that Scarlett is in, but as soon as this Prism is out, this is going to be a very difficult call to make. And with more and more of these shield batteries, I don't necessarily mind this position here for Shadown. It looks like he's been in this scenario 1,000 times before. The way he's handling this very confidently, I'm rather impressed. Well, oh my god, that hurts so much. The robotics facility just barely does not finish up the Prism. Another one of those spine crawlers, though, another one of these pylons will be constructed there. Once again, Shadown trying to make the building placement his friend. And I think that's going to be absolutely critical. Getting that Warp Prism out is so important. But right now, right? Even though Zerg has committed so many resources, the Prism is out. The bases are once again powered. And I think that Shadown can start doing what he feels so comfortable with. He's going to be able to juggle these Immortals. And it's absolutely on point so far. Well, once again... the pylon there ends up dying, which I guess is a bit unfortunate. But Scarlett definitely definitely committed a ton of resources there. That was meant to close out the game. That was meant to end this game right here, right now, but it did not. Oh, Shadown powering the... Oh, I love that. Did you see that? He's powering the warp or the robotics facility using the Warp Prism. I don't know why he's canceling it 1,000 times, but that is really cute. At the same time, though, the Zerglings made their way across the map when they realized that the Adept was no longer there. Photon Cannon will be finishing up here in just a little bit as well, but I don't know if that's going to be in time. That's a lot of freaking Zerglings. The wall may very well be in a little bit of trouble, but now with these Immortals, right, being a nuisance over here, Scarlett has decided to not continue fighting there, but instead to simply go back home with these Zerglings as well. Man, powering that with the Warp Prism was really cute. I love that move. That was super nice. Immortals aren't really meant to fight Zerglings, right? But they're doing a pretty decent job. Great micro so far. Oh my god, that was absolutely beautiful. Shield batteries are running very low on energy right now. But I think he can... He's once... Oh, he's gonna power. Did you see that? He was powering the one shield battery over there with the Warp Prism. And apparently Scarlett had had enough. She realized that that was just the nail in the coffin. Beautiful move there by Shadown. I think someone sent me a highlight clip of that on Twitter or something when this first happened. That was really cute. Like, using the Warp Prism, because I had seen it before. I just wasn't sure what series it was, but that was really sexy. Using a Warp Prism to power unpowered Protoss structures is just so cool, right? Isn't that awesome? Like, a lot of people don't even know that's how it works, but it literally just provides you pylon power, and with that, obviously, you can put structures below it as well. Super sexy move there by Shadown, using the Warp Prism to power that shield battery and therefore heal up the prism itself. Oh man, I love this. All right, so here we go. Game number 4. This time around, we are on Acid Plant. Shadown showing us that his Prism Immortal Micro is phenomenal. Right? He's almost moving and shooting at the same time. It's not an easy thing to do. Your control has to be 100% on point, because otherwise, you know, if you stop and drop every time with the Warp Prism, it has to like speed up again. You kind of want to continue moving it on maximum speed if you can, so it's a difficult call to make. I kind of just want to see him do the exact same thing once again. Looks like that may be happening. Now this time though, Scarlett has decided to go for the pool first here inside of the main instead. She did try to sneak out that drone, but I don't know if it's going to be in time. Ooh, looks like it barely will be. Second probe, though, once again being sent across. Shield, or rather the Forge is coming up right now, as well as the Cybernetic score. So Shadown is planning to do something very similar. I was wondering if you would be worried if this was going to be a pool first. But it looks like he doesn't really care very much, right? He just puts it right underneath the Overlord's vision once again. A couple of Zerglings are now coming up here, as well as a Queen. They're going to be out much quicker, but obviously the creep spread will be a bunch slower, right? Alright, second probe will now also be shown. So this is 100% a commitment right now by the Protoss player. Oof. Nice little move there, actually. Shadown manages to get the kill, and he also gets that tucked away position on that photon cannon. Robotics facility coming up here as well. It's once again going to reduce the surface area. Shadown locks up that photon cannon, and that basically means that this rush is working once again. We'll see if maybe Scarlett can deal with it this time around a little bit smoother, considering she's going to have her tech out a lot faster, and obviously also since she won't have her second gas stolen, so she won't have to commit into spine crawlers this time around. This is cheeky. I love that little tucked away photon cannon there, right? Just so precisely putting down your structures. Couple of brave probes poking away there at the Queen just to make her back off by once again just a couple seconds of time. Now the Zerglings did make their way across the map, but the Adept is out in time. And that one is going to be able to hold the door just fine. No Zergling speed this time around, so I think that Scarlett is going to really commit to the Ravagers. Ravagers, of course, great with their corrosive biles. They can really provide a lot of support, which is really critical, but they are relatively vulnerable units. You need to be very careful. First Immortal is coming out, guys. 3.5 minutes, not even, in the game. Super sick. Well, there's the shield battery going down, but there's definitely going to be more where that came from. Shadown is just simply going to try and siege this area right now. First Immortal is out. Second Immortal will be joining this one in just a little bit. Prism will likely be the follow-up as well, and that's obviously just simply going to provide so much support. Now, obviously, this may look a little counterintuitive, but breaking some of that energy of the shield batteries is already very critical as well. It's just that I feel like this is a difficult wall to break, though. How the heck are you going to get out of here if you are Scarlett? Right, the Queens are doing their best transfusing these Ravagers, but Ravagers, I mean, they are technically not armored. Roaches are. And they technically do not take bonus damage from Immortals, but Immortals still deal with them just fine. Third Queen just about to come out as well. Looks like that hatchery was mostly just as a production facility anyway. There's already a creep tumor here on the low ground, so Scarlett is planning on losing this one as well. Using this as a little bit of wiggle room to maybe get down one of those photon cannons. She manages to do exactly that, but here's the Prism. Here's that Prism. And this is where the juggling can begin once again. Target firing down the weakened Queens. Beautiful move so far. Scarlett is moving back the weakened Ravagers as well. Once again, hitting all of those transfuses absolutely brilliantly. But still, here's that one Adept as well, right? These Adepts are getting so much value. Some of the Ravagers are running very, very low. Solid target firing there by Shadown. Not taking any actual base damage on his Immortals. Well, just a little bit right now. But he's once again going to be able to back up. Third Immortal going to join the fray as well. And even though this build is absolutely disgusting, right? I know some Zerg players are watching this. They're cringing. They are hurting physically. I love the execution here by Shadown. I got a feeling there's no way. Yeah, there's no way right now with the Queen's dead. Right? He decided to target fire a dose. With the Queen's dead, that Warp Prism is going to have a field day. And Shadown manages to even up the games. Alrighty, so this is it. The final map of this series. We have made our way to Blue Shift LE, spawning here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map and playing with the red Zerg drones. She seems to be in control when the games go into a macro state, but maybe a little confused when her opponent goes for something as aggressive as he has been playing so far. We have none other than Scarlett. And her opponent spawning in the top right-hand corner, this time around going for the pylon on the low ground. I've got a feeling that this man right now is getting a lot more fans, because I know a lot of you Protoss players out there love this kind of playstyle. We have none other than Shadown. I hope I pronounced that properly. Shadown? Shadown. I don't know where to put the emphasis. I'm gonna go with Shadown. Also because it just sounds a little bit more French than, you know, Shadown. Doesn't really matter all too much anyway. I'm quite surprised. Oh my god. Okay. I was gonna say I'm quite surprised. Oh god, that is dirty. I'm quite surprised that he doesn't just go straight up for the same build as he won the last 2 previous games with. Was this scouted just now? Oh, Shadown saw it. That's a big deal. He doesn't want Scarlett to know that he saw it. So he's gonna like loop-de-loop one of the probes around. Not sure exactly what the point of that is. Just to see if maybe there was a second one right near the back of that as well. Well, the Overlord is coming up here in just a little bit, so that one will indeed spot exactly what's going on. Shadown is now going to be forced to play a, I guess, defensive robotics facility cheese. Like, that was a very confident pylon placement, right? I was actually really impressed with how quickly he decided to go for that. Forge is finishing up. And I think there's going to be 2 photon cannons, right? Yeah, there we go. Photon cannons are going to be absolutely phenomenal here. Scarlett's heart must be sinking right now. She knows that she's going to be in trouble here, right? Overlord is going to try and loop-de-loop around. Obviously, this is essentially one base play, but I guess just simply canceling that is maybe always a good option as well. Is she now going to take... Dude! What is even happening in these games? I'm trying to process the different decisions that these players are making. This is, for very many players, mostly uncharted territory, and that includes me. Shadown, though, knows exactly what to do. He's making a robotics facility now on the other side of the map with another proxy. Both players cheesing each other. This is cheese versus cheese at the professional level. Scarlett going for the proxy hatchery into the proxy hatchery. Photon cannon is once again coming up, but what this will do, right, is leave a huge amount of creep residents at the back of this as well. A couple of Zerglings now chase down this probe as well, so Scarlett knows that this cheese is happening once again. It's a little bit further away than you would normally anticipate it. A gateway is now coming up here as well for the Protoss player. He did not get himself the cybernetics core warp gate upgrade, but Scarlett goes for the cheese, into the cheese, into the cheese? The proxy hatch, into the proxy hatch, into the proxy hatch? Eventually, right, this Protoss player is gonna be occupied on the other side of the map. Shadown must assume that he's got this one covered right now. This could actually become trouble. Scarlett did go for the low ground hatchery, but that's mostly just distraction. We saw this worked out in the very first game of the series. The Roach Warren is coming up right now. All Scarlett needs to do right now, right, is kill her opponent from the inside out. Oh my god, Shadown needs to see this base. He doesn't see the base inside of his base. The Immortal is now available though, so the timings of this one are different than it was in game number 1. That's a big call to make. Scarlett is now also going to inject some over here, but the buildings are being built so much further away. I wonder who's feeling confident in this situation, right? Queen's trying to get rid of that single shield battery there. That's going to slow down the advancement just a little bit. And time is all that she needs. That hatchery will be able to kill pretty much everything there nearby. Now, keep in mind, mass recall is also an option here for this Protoss player. He can always recall the units out of there. Shield battery there does eventually end up dying. Ravager's now also available here near the low ground expansion, I guess. And that means that Scarlett is going to try and keep this push at bay. Now, she knows very well that eventually, right, this Warp Prison with the Immortals, they're going to be able to get so much value out of this. But here's this base inside of the base. Shadown should be able to see the creep right now as well. Scarlett waiting for the additional larva to become available there. If she makes a couple of roaches, I feel like she's going to be in a great spot. Now, I don't know if she has the resources to actually afford that, though. That's kind of the scary part, right? Does she have the resources to actually go for the aggression inside of the main base right now of this Protoss player? She's really committing mostly into defense right now, and I think that may be the correct call. The thing is, obviously, making units inside of your opponent's main base is nice and all, but the fact of the matter is that if you lose your own main in the process, it's a difficult call to make, and usually you don't really want to base race against, you know, these immortals and then that one war prism as well. Still, an interesting little run by there. Scarlett is going to make one group of Zerglings. So only a small group of Zerglings. Right now, Shadown must have realized as well what's going on in his main base. And now he's got to respond to this counterattack. Scarlett, rather than just fighting the main army, has decided to go for the counterattack. That does mean that the hatchery on the low ground immediately falls. I like the decision here from Shadown. He's going to be able to get rid of that hatchery if he wants to. But right now, I love this. Smart move there, right? Using the War Prism to get recalled here. Leaving behind one Immortal to finish the job, or at the very least defend this position. Second Immortal is now coming up as well. And I wouldn't even be surprised right now to see another War Prism. I think another War Prism would be a really good call to make. Just very difficult to micro. So Scarlett is going to end up losing that third proxy hatchery as well. At the same time, though, that one photon cannon near the front was indeed taken care of. Scarlett a little bit indecisive right now. She's waiting for those Zerglings to get to the other side of the map as well. Well, that pylon definitely is not destined to live, and that means that the front wall will end up falling. Still, there's of course the Immortals inside of the War Prism. Ravagers are nice and all. They can definitely deal a bunch of damage, but there's now also two Immortals here available. Shadown is still continuously building more stuff. Sure, even if Scarlett ends up losing, or rather ends up killing the main base here, she's still gonna have to deal with 4 of these Immortals. Now the thing is, she is mining, right? The hatchery there on the low ground does end up dying, which is great, great play there. Shadown is getting a lot of value, trying to pick off these weakened Ravagers. The Nexus there did go. That means only a single probe remains. We've got ourselves a bit of a weird base race. But the thing is, Scarlett, in order to win this game, doesn't just have to take out these buildings over here. She also has to take out the buildings over here. What she did do, though, successfully, is deny all mining right now from this Protoss player. So these shield batteries that are coming up, they're the last ones. That's the final one. Shadown has not rebuilt his bases, but he's got 5 Immortals and 1 Prism. Scarlett is still mining, though. That's the big deal, right? The more time she buys, the bigger her army will become. These Immortals, they are going to be able to plow through this army so very quickly. It's just that Scarlett is going to have a really hard time to actually fight all of these units straight up. Now, that one pylon there, definitely an important one. That means that the shield battery actually is not going to provide any more value in this game. I think this is the correct call, yeah. Exactly. Split off 2 Immortals, maybe 3 Immortals. Try to go after the main base and then use the rest of your army for defensive purposes instead. It is just absolutely critical for the Protoss right now to micro this correctly. A very difficult call to make. Transfuse is now being used on the queens. One queen actually falls with a lot of energy, but the Prism, the Prism moved away. At the same time, though, a couple of the Immortals looks like they ended up falling. I think they overextended. Sadly, I ended up missing that little bit of the engagement, but Shadown says, GG, well played, good luck, and obviously that good luck is meant for the remainder of the tournament. Scarlett shows that she's capable of defending this push, but even though this strategy has been around for, I would say, I don't know, like a half year right now, Zerg players have still not found a solid way of defeating it, and Protoss players are just simply getting better and better at the execution. I love this. That final game in particular is an absolute mess, but it only makes sense if you read the story of the previous games as well, right? That was awesome. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below, and if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. A special shout out to the Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for directly helping out the channel. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you once again in the next one.